Welcome back, all my tech mixers. Yet again, we've got a little bit of Wheel of Time news to cover, because so much happened on Wednesday, and I had to rush to get that trailer reaction video out on the same day, that this little diddly of news completely snuck past me. But Rafe Judkins, who is the showrunner for Amazon's The Wheel of Time series, after they dropped the Wheel of Time trailer on Wednesday, gave a full breakdown of that trailer. And he had a lot of interesting things to say. So, we're going to take a quick look-see at some of my favorite bits from the piece and break down his breakdown. So, let's get into it.
Oh, he's technically Mexican and 3/4 American, but for 3 generations he's got that nationality. Great-great-grandpa headed south, whose kids had kids then turned around. It's not what the show's about, but it's why he's Mexican technically. It helps that he was raised in New Mexico, lived in Guadalajara for 2 years, speaks fluent Spanish with a bachelor's degree in language and examine taquito.
And we're back. I will be dropping the link to this article in the description so you can watch the full video if you want, because we're not going to cover the whole thing. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the parts that I thought were interesting and that gave us some little bits that I thought were worth mentioning. So, let's take a quick look-see, baby! And... Okay, so this is Rafe Judkins, showrunner, introducing his breakdown of the trailer.
Hey everyone, I am Rafe Judkins, showrunner of The Wheel of Time, and I'm breaking down the trailer for you.
Yep, and we're going to break down his breakdown. Double breakdown. This was the first little segment that I thought was worth highlighting. So let's listen to what he has to say here, talking about how we see in the trailer the Aes Sedai using the Oath Rod in practice. And it is Moiraine, in fact, who is swearing her Aes Sedai oaths. So
it's something that people may not be expecting to see in the first season, but I think that they will like how we're using it. And
exactly. Those were everyone's first thoughts. This is not in the first book. I'm not even sure if it's in New Spring, the prequel. It is. No, it is, because that covers the final Aes Sedai trial. Yes. So, as we've all suspected, the show is going to incorporate little bits of the prequel series throughout. It's obviously not going to get its own season, but we'll get flashbacks that help flesh out the world that we'll be inhabiting for this show. And I think that it's a very smart move. And to get it started in book 1. Because, and I've said this before, book 1 is structured a little bit differently than the rest of the books in the series, in that it's very secluded, and almost the entire book takes place from Rand's perspective. But very quickly, the books in the series spread into having so many unique viewpoint characters from all over the world and different cultures and different sexes, and that the entire series is in every sense of the word epic, in that we get tons of culture and tons of different intricate parts of the world that are all, mingling and working together in this world that Robert Jordan has created. He was a fantastic world builder, and book 1 feels very different from the rest of the books because it's so secluded. And so I think it is a very smart idea to kind of take book 1 and pull it a little closer to the style of the rest of the series, because Robert Jordan definitely grew as an author with his confidence in having more than one viewpoint character, and his vision for the series grew as well. And so a lot of the world building and setup just was not visual in book 1. So I think that it's necessary for the show to start making those changes early. And so we're going to see a lot of things in season 1, world building wise, that were not present in book 1. And I'm 100% okay with that, because it will feel more cohesive. So showing Moiraine swearing on the oath rod is a great way of giving us these little tidbits of world building. And also, it's a great practice of the age-old mantra, show, don't tell. Rather than saying, hey, there's a thing called an oath rod and you have to swear by it, just show us a character doing it, and we instantly learn visually what could potentially take lots of screen time in dialogue explaining. And when you have that choice, you always want to choose to show the viewer something rather than tell them something. So this is a great decision. Let's move on to the next clip.
So here we can see Moraine and Leandrin standing up against Logain. And Logain is a really important character in the books that we wanted to bring up earlier in the show, and more fully in this first season than he was in the first book. He's the first man we really meet using the one power. And so to see him play a bigger role on the TV show lets us show what it means for a man to use the one power, instead of you just having to read a big description of what it means in the books or a story about it in the books. We can actually show it on the screen and you can understand the consequences of it.
Exactly. Show, don't tell. So this is another absolutely perfect change that we'll be getting in the series. Logain is in book 1, and he's a very major player later on in the series, but you don't see a whole lot of him in book 1. You're told a whole lot about Logain, and that just doesn't work very well in a visual medium. Anytime you adapt anything, you inherently have to make changes, or it just doesn't work. Books can do things that TV shows can't do. And TV shows and movies can do things that books can't do. Movies can do things that TV shows can't do. And TV shows can do things that movies can't do. So when you're making an adaptation, you really have to think about what things you're willing to sacrifice and what changes you're willing to make to maintain the spirit of the source material, but use the new medium to its full potential. And this is the perfect example of that. It would be so boring for Moraine to just explain to the male characters how male channeling works. And instead of doing that, we're going to get a visual example through an ancillary character of how male channeling works. And then you don't even need to have the conversation. Or you can have a conversation clarifying things that you saw visually. And it works so much better. And a lot of people get mad when adaptations have to make these kind of changes. But it's 100% necessary. And, if you want to see exactly what happened in the books, just read the books. Because the books are fantastic in their own right. And we need the show to also be fantastic and faithful to the books, but also stand on its own as an adaptation that you can fully understand without having to read the books. I've always hated it when I go to see a movie that was adapted from a book and I point out something that wasn't very clear and didn't make sense, and people's explanation is, oh, well, it makes sense if you've read the books. And my immediate response is, okay, then why make a movie? So, kudos to Rafe Judkins. I think I'm liking everything this guy has been saying about the show, and we're like totally melding brainwaves right now. So, next clip.
Yeah, so here you can see the iconic jewel that Moiraine has and wears on her head, and we thought it was really important to see it at some point during the show. So when she goes to the Hall of the Tower or has these very heightened moments in the show that are very formal, then we'll see her wearing her classic head jewel.
Absolutely. And I addressed this in a previous video. I was afraid a lot of people would get upset that we don't get to see her iconic forehead necklace thingy majig, which is very prevalent in the books. But if you think about it, it's not very practical if you're fighting. That thing's going to be flipping around and flying everywhere. So this is a perfect compromise to that problem. When her character will be doing something formal, by all means show her little head pendant, and when she's fighting, she's gonna have to take it off, guys. Next clip.
Yeah, so here we can see this incredible mountainscape with these women walking through it. And I can confirm that every single thing in this frame was shot in camera.
First note, I'm including this clip for selfish purposes to point out that my initial reaction to this shot in the trailer was correct. And this is indeed the women traveling to the women's circle ritual, which we will see in episode 1 with Egwene coming of age. Essentially, because Rafe confirms here that they're all women, and I was right, baby. But he also talks about the importance of practical in-camera effects, and I want to hear what he has to say. So let's go back a little bit.
We can see this incredible mountainscape with these women walking through it. And I can confirm that every single thing in this frame was shot in camera. There's no VFX here. So it was really important to us as much as possible to try to put our actors in these incredible places, to put as much as we could of the monsters in front of them, to try to get as much of the show in camera as we possibly could to help make it feel real. Because fantasy, I think, when you drop out of it, it's because you feel like it's not real. And so trying to at least give that to our actors so that they could really feel like they're in a real world was hugely important to us.
This makes me so happy to hear from the showrunner that this was their mission statement and goal, to be able to do as much practically as they can and only enhance the practical effects with special effects, because everyone knows that's the best way to do it. But for some reason, Hollywood keeps filming everything on a green screen and going 100% digital, because I guess it's easier for them, but oftentimes it turns out to be a lot more expensive and it looks crappier. So I love this attitude towards filmmaking of doing as much as you can practically, but obviously you have to include some computer graphics, and enhancing the practical stuff with computer graphics is always the best way to go. And it's the best way to go, and it's what the best filmmakers use, and I'm just so happy to hear this. And everything they've shown us in these trailers has been looking fantastic, largely due to this attitude. And the next clip talks about how he mentions the same thing, and he goes on about it for even longer in regard to the design of the Trollocs. So let's watch that.
It was really important to me that they be a mix of practical and visual effects, so that you would never
speaking my language, baby.
Your brain can't look at this and actually know exactly what is real and exactly what is created in the computer.
He goes on for like 4 minutes on this, but that's the point. I'm so happy to see this attitude. Next clip.
What we're seeing right here, this is actually the city of Faldara, and in the distance beyond it, you can see Tarwins Gap.
Boom. And this shot is included to show that I was right. In my initial reaction to the trailer, I said that this has to be the Borderlands. I believe I accidentally mentioned 2 different Borderland countries. I said Shinar and Saldea, and I was corrected in the comments. But I did say both cities. And they're both Borderland cities. I got a little bit confused, but I was mostly right, because this is the city of Faldara, which is in the country of Shinar, and more importantly, it is on the part of the borderland that has the passageway to the Blight Lands, which is called Tarwins Gap. And I forgot the name Tarwins Gap in my last video, but I was right. I knew where the location was. I just didn't know the right name. Also, in this shot, he proceeds to reiterate the point for the 3rd time that they tried to focus on practical effects, only enhancing them with visual effects. And I love it. Next clip, baby.
What's up here now is a shot of Lan, probably more emotional than anyone who's read the books would ever expect to see him. And I think that one thing that we've worked really hard to do in the show is to show this bond between Aes Sedai and Warder. It's a bond between a woman, the Aes Sedai, and a man, her Warder, that is incredibly complicated, and I think is one thing that totally sets this show apart from anything else that's on TV right now, because this relationship is so interesting between this man and woman. And they can actually feel what the other one feels. So to be able to really show that on the show, we didn't want characters just talking about it. We wanted to bring emotion to the forefront for them, sees something, I can't say what it is, but that would elicit this kind of emotion from the characters, and see that they feel each other's pain, not just physical, but also the emotions that the other one is feeling, and give light to this really unique male-female relationship that's not usually sexual, that you never get to see on a show of such balance between men and women as you get between Moiraine and Lan, and between the other Aes Sedai and their warders.
Boom. Okay, a bit of a longer clip there, but I thought his explanation was really well done. And if we go back, my initial reaction to this scene, I said, this is most likely going to be a flashback, and I'm definitely still sticking with that statement. There were a lot of people online speculating that this could be the bonding ceremony between Aes Sedai and Warder, where they first make that connection, where they can feel each other's feelings. And I definitely don't think that is the case. And Rafe's explanation here really confirms that for me. They're using this scene to illustrate what that bond does. And this is totally going to be a flashback because they're in different clothes, and obviously someone has died. And I love the idea of the scene. It's going to be very emotional for Lan's character, and that emotion is going to tug on Moiraine and make her cry, even though she's not personally as invested in whatever's going on. And I think that's a really smart way to show how the bond works. I know that Daniel Green specifically was very upset about this clip, because it very much so goes against Lan's characterization in the books to be this emotional. And I do agree with that sentiment, as long as it's referring to Lan in the present day that the books take place in. And so I definitely think that this is a flashback when they first get their connection and something terrible happens. So don't freak out too much, good old Daniel Green. I don't think you'll be disappointed with Lan in this show. Let's see the next clip, baby. This is a quick one.
This is a character that I think we've already announced online, named Aram, who's one of the Tinkers, or the Traveling People, as they'd like to call themselves.
Boom. It's a quick one. Now I know who that is. It's not Matt sleeping on the ground. It's a Tinker. Might not be sleeping. He might be dead. We don't know, baby. Next clip.
Yeah, so right here we're looking at a Waygate.
You can't trick us, Rafe Judkins. None of us are looking at the Waygate here. We're looking at Loyal. The best character in the books. You're not fooling anybody. Yeah, sure, there's a Waygate in the shot. Talk about all you want. No one cares. No one cares, Rafe. Show us his face. Show us Loyal's face. Okay? If you could do that. If you could do that for us, that would be lovely. Thank you. Next clip.
And one of the core things that you do see is that when Logain is using the one power, there's a black, oily slick that you see.
I was right again, baby.
That is something called the corruption. And that black corruption is something that drives male channelers mad.
Is it called the corruption? Or is it called the taint? I believe you're referring to the Dark One's taint. It's not called the corruption in the books. Say it. Say it, Rafe. Say taint. I'll wait. Also, I was right with my initial reaction to the clips that they released about Logain when it showed him channeling the power, and I think it's a beautiful representation of showing showing him using the one power, and then having the taint come in and cover the weaves. I think it's a beautiful way to represent male channeling. And if we're being completely honest, I get that we're calling it the corruption. But just say taint one time. One time. Say it for me, baby. Say taint. Next clip.
So I think that this shot in the trailer is probably one that will generate some of the most online conversation about what it's representing. And I don't want to stifle that conversation by just telling people what it is.
Please.
So I will say that we
you'd be so
try
smug
very hard
about
on the
it.
show to use something that Robert Jordan used in the books, which was these prologues or out of POV chapters that just show us something totally different than what we expected, and sometimes those are flashbacks.
We don't get those in book one,
flash forwards. Sometimes those are something
we don't get those as much in book one.
Completely unexpected, and we've tried to use that the same way on the show. So I can't say whether this is a flashback or a flash forward or a lateral flash of something that we
Dragonmount
are seeing happen for a character that we won't
get
to really know
the birth
for seasons to come
of the dragon
I do think that
reborn.
This scene is one of my favorites.
You don't need to be coy.
Season 1.
Everybody knows it.
I hope that fans of the books will be excited when they finally realize what it's representing.
We know. We know what it's representing. You know what it's representing. You don't need to be coy with us. It's Aieli's. It's our Aiel boys fighting at Dragonmount, leading up to the birth of the dragon reborn. And it looks fantastic, baby. Well, those are all the clips that I wanted to cover from his breakdown. Follow the link in the description. Watch the whole thing. It's wonderful. So excited. Everything from the trailer looks really good, and I just can't wait for the show to drop. And on that note, I think on the channel we'll probably be getting a bit less coverage of the Wheel of Time from here on out, because now that they've dropped the trailer, I assume we'll be getting less until closer to the launch date, which is so close, baby. I'm obviously going to be reviewing the episodes as they come out. But this channel is not just a Wheel of Time channel, so I wanted to announce, for anyone sticking around who's getting real tired of hearing me talk about the Wheel of Time, that I do have several sketches that I've already filmed and I'm editing, and they're scheduled to be released within the next couple of weeks. I have 2 new original comedy songs, one of which is dropping tomorrow, and the other very, very soon. So we've got a lot more content coming that's not Wheel of Time related, but of course we're going to get more Wheel of Time stuff in the future. So I just wanted to quickly mention all that so you guys know what to look forward to in the future from this channel. If you're looking for more Wheel of Time content, I'd check out the Bard of the Red Hand. This guy is a real Wheel of Time nerd boy, and his videos are fantastic. I would suggest this video right here, which I'll link to, where he talks about the slog in the Wheel of Time. And yeah, check out his stuff. I'm not even going to ask you to subscribe to my channel today. I want you guys to go subscribe to the Bard of the Red Hand and get him to 1K subs so we can get this boy monetized, baby. He's a real nice guy. We've never met. And we'll see you around. That's all I got for you today, baby.